Judge me by factories and jobs, not policy. And I want to know who said that. That's the president of Nigeria, President Tinubu, coming out to say this time around, judge me by factories and jobs, not policy counts. And that's exactly when he unveiled Nigeria's industrial policy of 2025. That's also one of the big captions on the front pages of the newspaper. Welcome to this very segment of newspaper headlines and analysis, where we get into the heart of the stories that are making the rounds across the country in Nigeria. The newspapers that we have in the country, I have quite a few here with me, and so many stories are calling for attention. But I'm not doing this alone. I have Victor Akele joining us in the studio this morning. Good morning to you. It's good to have you in the house today.
Yeah, good morning. How are you doing?
Yes, Victor, many things to talk about, right? If you check the prints are quite bulky and heavy because of the prints, some of the stories, I mean, layers of stories on the papers, right? But yes, let's go to the chase. Judge me by factories, jobs, and not policy counts. The president came out to say that, and then he was charging stakeholders on speedy implementation. He says admin recognizes, believes in youth potential as he unveiled Nigeria industrial policy of 2025. So, I mean, a lot of people ask the question, is this enough? When the president says, judge me by factories and jobs, not policy counts, has he been able to create enough jobs? Has he been able to create enough factories? But do you think this statement of the president is just a political statement, or is a statement that is rooted on or in statistics and data?
From him, he is trying to speak from statistics or data, like you said. But for we Nigerians, we have not seen it. We see it political, because he must be able to give us facts beyond doubt that what he's saying is based on statistics. There are no jobs anywhere. There are still millions of people out there still needing jobs. That's why we still have a lot of, let me digress a little, a lot of young chaps like us still looking into international jobs, you know, AI jobs, remote jobs. They still want to get themselves employed by Western employers, not only because they want to earn in foreign currencies, but because there are no jobs here for them to do. So their almost best option is to look outwards. So that statement is based on politics from a layman on this end, even though he's trying to claim it is statistical, which we don't believe so.
All right. Well, let's not belabor that issue. We'll still keep fingers crossed and see what becomes of this. Meanwhile, there was something that really happened yesterday, and it's making the rounds across the country. There's been conversations about reps, Senate, and all of that. But then, the Vanguard newspaper has it this way: reps cave in, back Senate on Electoral Act amendment. So the long and short of the conversation is there's transmission, electronic transmission, and there's manual transmission. Others have said it's possible to have just one. They're saying, yeah, of course, because of network issues, but telcos also came different narratives to say, you know, we can actually achieve this if we want to. So what do you think is responsible for this? Is it lack of infrastructure or lack of political or Senate backing? That's why we're seeing where we are. So
let me take the question again.
Okay, so I'm trying to know, because telcos, right, said it's possible to transmit election results electronically without stress in many places. And they've also said there are ways they can up the game, especially in certain areas that might not have that much of bandwidth. And then that's the claim from the telcos. Others have said too that if they really want to do this, they can do it. So there's been that question of why is the Senate going back and forth and eventually still going back to what they said against what Nigerians are protesting against when they had the Occupy National Assembly protest. So there's been that claims that maybe they are trying to, maybe there's an undertone, political undertone, to say they want elections to be rigged, they want malpractice come 2027. That's what some have alleged that the Senate and the reps are really doing. But, you know, on their own side, they said there's network issues too, and that's one of the reasons they might not get that transmission, electronic transmission, to pass exactly. So where do you stand in all of this?
if they want to do it, they can do it. If they want to do an electrified or electronical transmission, it is possible. It is very possible. Election in Nigeria takes a particular, what's the word now, funding. Now, I don't know for what 2027 election funding would be, but if we really want to electrify this thing, if the election for 2027 is meant to be 40 billion, for instance, if you put all of this electrification and all of those modalities into it, some of these things will be reduced and some will be increased. Meaning, what I'm trying to say is it is possible. Nigeria has the money to fund such advancements. So why are we not doing it? Then there are some ulterior motives to it. It's that simple. If we televise or electrify transmission, then rigging will be out of the game. Some other electoral malpractices will be out of the game. And they don't want it.
You see, okay, so there's been claims that there is an attempt to sabotage the election come 2027. But some have said that it is not just about the election, but, you know, across board now, for many Nigerians, the situation has been that there's been the case of distrust. It's not even just about innovation. It's not about bringing technology into the play. Some are saying that we've not had distrust in this electoral process in the country, and that's why we are coming out to protest. But looking at it from, you know, from maybe, should we say, a broader view now, do you think if the Senate eventually goes on to say we are using both methods, do you think that's going to help election, or that's going to help this country going forward, come 2027 elections?
So why should we have two? Let's just have one.
But they claim there's network issues in certain places.
Having two is waste. Okay, maybe not waste of resources, but it will be more expensive to run the two. Let's run one. Let's run the electrified one. Simple. We have done the manual one for how many years now? We've seen the result over the years. Let's try something new, at least for the first time. So network issue, I repeat my statement. If we want to do it, we will do it. All we need to do is to, there's still a little time. We still have about 7 months or more into the election. What you want to do, look at this. If anybody wants to campaign for an election, if anybody wants to contest for a political position, when does he or she start campaigning? Like a year before, for one day election, like a year before. So if you are going to do a general election in 2027, and then we want to reinforce our, what did you call it now? What's the word now? Network. Okay, we want to better our network from everywhere. 7 months is enough to do that. Liars with a telecommunication company, or maybe, yes, of course, we have 4 already in the nation. Liars with either of them, or even all of them, to give a better, network in every area that you think might be affected. And that's simple. And that's just simple. If we want to do it, we can do it. Yeah,
so let's talk about just that conversation. There's also the conversation of shift the dates because of Ramadan come 2027. So the dates that have been fixed according to INEC that was submitted as the timetable date actually falls on this kind of time, sometime in February, where Muslims will be fasting. So there's been the claims, of course, people saying that, of course, some senators also mentioned that it might affect voter turnout come 2027 because someone who is fasting is not expected to have much strength to stand, because you understand the process, the rigorous process of sometimes voting in the country. So they've said, can we shift it forward? Others have said maybe there's a plan to buy more time so as to do evil. But let me know where you stand, Victor, before I even go ahead.
Well, I may not say anything bad in buying time. During February, Buhari and who was that? Buhari and Goodluck Jonathan, then it was moved forward, and whatever Buhari won, whether they use that to buy time for whatever. So it has happened before. So it has happened before, it can happen again. And this time that is happening again, I feel is happening for a better purpose. People are fasting, they might not have the strength to stand for long under the sun. That bill could be passed. But so if it is now an opportunity to buy more time to conduct some more fraudulent electoral practice, well, it is still possible. Okay, so I feel it's not really bad to move it forward for whatever good reason, and Ramadan is a good reason.
Absolutely. So, I mean, so there's been the other conversation on the other hand as well about shifting the time. But what do we say to INEC? Before you submit your timetable, have you not checked antecedents? I mean, so that's exactly where we have to beg the question of proper planning. You want to set a date for something as big as the election, and then you just go straight without considering every odds, the pros, the cons, and every of the things, that the intricacies of all of that, and then you come out to say this. But sometimes I beg the question to say, why do we just do things without really consulting, without really checking the facts, without even checking into history and antecedents, and so we can plan better?
Yeah.
But what do you say about this?
It still boils down to, okay, so I will say two things. I'll have a positive and a negative. So firstly, you know, Ramadan sometimes can, Ramadan, the moon, the calendar always shifts.
Dictates when,
Yes. So if they say because of that reason, Ramadan shifts, okay, so that is a reason, well, we can pass, we can forgive that. But on the other hand, I still always believe that government parastatals, government agencies, many times they are not always on top of their game. Nigeria government, civil service, public service, many times they still do they are still always behind. They still don't meet with expectations. Their capacity is still very low. They still discharge duties as though they were in the analog ages. While you see corporate organizations, I mean, the corporate sector is doing advancedly well, better than government sector, which is terrible as a nation. So yes, they need to begin to learn how to consult all odds before coming to a conclusion. That's number one. Number two, like I said, I say it over and over. When these people are being appointed, appoint the capable hands. You know, employ or hire or appoint capable hands that can do well. Number one. Number two, those that are in each agencies, in each parastatals, let them go on sabbaticals. Let them go for trainings, career advancement. Let them learn more. It will shock you that if you go to the secretariat today, a lot of these public and civil servants don't know how to use technology. You will see some offices don't have a computer, and some which have the you know. So advancement is important. Technology is growing every day, and government should what's the word now? Evolve on daily basis, just as the corporate sector is also evolving. So that's
all right. So let's take this from the EFCC. EFCC to secure remand order to detain El Rufai till end of investigation. I know you've been in the know as to how this has been in the country, but I want your thought on this. What do you make of all the, because some have said it's politicized, others have said there's been cases of, you know, being complicit to insecurity in Nigeria, especially when it was Kaduna State Governor. Remember when he was nominated and the Senate pulled him out because they said for security reasons and some other reasons as well, they said he might not go on with that particular nomination. And then they came out to say something about Nuhu Ribadu, the NSA, National Security Advisor's phone being tapped, and a lot of things that brought him into this big issue that it currently is. But what do you make of all of this? What do you see as the light after the tunnel for him?
The light after the tunnel for him is blinking on. He played into the hands of federal government. He played into the hands of federal government, played into the hands of the opposition party, played into the hands of those who don't like him. So the lights at the end of the tunnel might not be off, but it's not brightening. It's not shining brightly. You get it? So if they detain him till this investigation, today or yesterday was his birthday, and he's been in detention. So maybe he will be in detention till the end of it. It is possible. Number one, he's a Nigerian. It's not above the law. And so if the law says he has to be detained, then he has to be detained. Again, all the charges against him is guilty of a larger percent of the charges. So he has to speak himself out of those charges. So yes, it's possible. So my ground is the end of the tunnel, the light there is blinking for him. He played himself into the hands of his enemies.
Yeah. Speaking of enemies now, but no disrespect anyway. Free Nnamdi Kanu or return him to Kenya. Southeast Monarch tells Tinubu. I know you also know about this, but there's been the issue of others saying that Igbos are not really standing for their own, especially with Nnamdi Kanu. They've laid claims to Sunday Igboho being Yoruba, and that's why he's moving freely and then Nnamdi Kanu cannot have the same because some people are not standing. Now it seems like the Southeast monarchs are saying that we want his release. But the federal government has made it clear, DSS and then maybe the court of law as well has made it clear that yes, he is culpable and he has to also face whatever he's facing. But where do you see? What do you make of this story? How do you see this trajectory?
First off, let's go back to that idea of Igbo is moving freely. Let's first clarify that notion. The crime or the charges against Igbo are not as heavy as the charges against Kanu. Let's first clarify that. And at a point, Igbo was it Benin Republic? He was, he was held there. He wasn't allowed to come into the nation. So I think people should speak from facts and not from emotions. There was a time that he was, I don't know the right word to use, he was reprimanded, am I right? In another nation. You couldn't come into Nigeria for a particular period. Then after which he was able to come in, but then his movement was still restricted. And that's another fact, is that his own charges, what he did, are not as heavy as what Kanu did.
But some Kanu supporters will not agree with you.
Because they're emotional. That's the truth, because they're emotional. That's why I said we should speak on facts. We should speak on facts. Part of Kanu's charges is national treason. That was not conferred on Sunday Igboho. You get it? So we need to be clear. We should clarify facts. That's it. Secondly, the question is, should they be released or not? And the Igbos are not fighting for their own. Not everybody will believe in a policy. We believe in an idea. You get it? From my siblings, my brother might come up with a particular policy that I won't support. It's possible. We have freedom of rights, freedom of opinion and all that. So yes, it's possible that some Igbos don't support him. That's it. But now, should we release him to Kenya or still leave him in detention? That should be left for national discretion. It's not the monarchs. It is not for anybody to decide. It is a sole decision by the government. What does the law say about this? Then let law have its course. My submission.
I would like to say a big thank you to you, Victor Akinleye, for joining us this morning.
All right, thank you very much for having me.
Of course, we will now switch focus to the big story with Oluwayemi Adelakun. After this break, join us again.